My name is Brandon, and tonight we're taking a look at Gods of Egypt. Gods of Egypt was directed by Alex Proyas and stars Gerard Butler, Nicolaj Waldo, and Brendan Thwaites, and tells the story of a mortal man teaming up with a god to save the world and the one that he loves. Well, it attempts to tell that story. I want to tell you who wrote this movie, just so you can tweet at them and ask them what exactly they were thinking when they were writing this movie. So like most movies, I don't like to completely down on it. To be quite honest, I had a okay time in the theater. This movie is getting torn apart by critics. Rotten Tomatoes scores in the teens, low teens. And to be honest, I actually enjoyed it a little bit more than most people did. There are some positives in this movie. They do not outweigh the giant hunk of negatives in this film. But like most of my reviews, we're going to talk about everything, so let's launch into it. Some of the positives of this movie are people got jobs. People were paid and made a movie. Good for them. Get paid, get some money, and, you know, jobs are good. They're good for the country. Another positive of this movie, I'd have to say, is it does give Brendan Thwaites, a young actor, a good chance to shine. He was probably the best part of this movie, aside Geoffrey Rush playing the sun god Ra. You could tell that kid was trying. Not everybody was trying. There were some solid phone-ins from actors on this movie. One of the biggest problems with this movie is the first half. It drags and tells you nothing and explains nothing. I think this movie just assumes that everyone in the world knows everything about Egyptian mythology that they didn't actually even get correct anyway. And it attempts you to think that you just know what's going to happen when you get in this movie. The first hour of this movie was probably the worst first hour of a movie I've seen in 5 years. The second half of this movie, however, does actually pick up and get going. I found myself actually enjoying some of the movie as we got closer and closer to the climax, and not just because it was going to be over. The visuals of this movie were pretty good. It looked pretty good. It reminded me of The Mummy in some places, and I really enjoyed that film when I was younger. But like most movies, we're going to have to take a look at some of the negatives, and there are a lot of them. Negative number 1, the script for this movie is terrible. I found myself going, oh my god, did they just actually say that out loud? Negative number 2 for this movie, they didn't explain anything. I have no idea what's happening through 90% of this film. I was sitting next to a kid in the theater, and he kept asking his dad what was going on, and I'm sitting there listening to his dad going, maybe he'll be able to explain it to me. Negative number 3, Gerard Butler. My god, this man phoned this in from outer space. This is the worst performance I've ever seen of him. And it's a Gerard Butler movie. You expect not a tremendously awesome performance, but I mean, you know, at least learn your lines and maybe act and, you know, you're supposed to be the bad guy. What am I supposed to think? Negative number 4. A lot of this movie doesn't make any sense. Like I said, you're moving from scene to scene to scene to scene to scene, and there's really nothing, there's no coherent or cohesive line taking you throughout the whole movie. I mean, this movie could have been good. All it had to be was a big, dumb, fun action movie with a bunch of gods flying around. And negative number 5, the actual action scenes. They were boring. There's only one good scene in this movie, and you start to see that part in the trailer where the 2 snakes are starting to come down the hill. That's about it, and that scene got really old really fast. Negative number 6. All the talent in this movie is completely wasted. You get Gerard Butler. You get the Kingslayer from Game of Thrones. You get Geoffrey Rush. Barbossa, man, Barbossa. Completely wasted in this movie. So, I have to say, I honestly didn't completely hate this movie like a lot of critics are, but there are a lot of negatives in this movie. I'm going to have to give this movie a D. Once again, my name is Brandon. Remember to follow me on Twitter at TheyKnowStayDead and subscribe to our YouTube channel.